Hi, everybody. Welcome to Offerzen's CTO Playbook webinar series. Today we'll be talking everything offers. I'm Corin. I'm an engineering manager from We're waiting for a few people to join. Sorry for starting so late today. We had a bit of technical difficulties. So grab a coffee, grab a glass of wine, and let's get ready. If you on the chat, you can just post where you're from, maybe your name. If you want to send people more detail, you can post in your LinkedIn profile as well. Let's see the chat. I see Harry says hi. Okay, I think we're ready to start. So welcome everybody again. I'm Corin, and I'll be your host for tonight. For those who don't know, Offerzen is sorry, my power just came on. So for everyone that doesn't know, Offerzen is a marketplace for software developers, and it was founded in South Africa. We have since expanded to Middle Earth, which is GMT +2 time zone, spanning across Africa and Europe. Often Marketplace helps 2,000 companies in Africa and Europe hire curated software developers and are actively seeking new opportunities. Companies on Offerzen can reach out to developers who are actively looking for jobs, and they can get upfront information like tech stack, salary, and previous roles. On average, companies on the Offerzen platform make hires within 20 days. We also have a strong focus on community and run events like today for people like you. If you're hiring or you'd like to browse the developers currently live on Offerzen, simply hit the request free trial poll on your screen right now. I see mine also popped up. And then we have listened to the community, and we're cutting through the noise and bring more Zen, like this webinar series tonight, where we're focusing on practical takeaways, tips from industry leaders like Sizwe, and the latest insight from software developer hiring. In a few moments, Sizwe will be joining us to chat all things offers. But before we jump into that, I would just like to run through some quick housekeeping things. So first of all, you can see me and Sizwe soon, but we will not be able to see you. So please show us some love in the chat. Ask questions throughout. We'll be happy to, we'll have some time at the end and throughout to answer some of your questions. If you drop off the video, you can come back by simply clicking the link that you received for the webinar. And like I said, if you have any questions, post them on the questions tab. There's also a chat tab if you want to discuss anything with your fellow attendees. So let's quickly check on the chat. I see we've got some people. Palesa from Joburg. Great. It seems like we're managing with the chat. Sizwe is waiting in the wings. So let's get started and welcome Sizwe to the conversation. Hey, Sizwe.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
Good, and you?
Good. Long day, but yeah.
Sure. Can you maybe just introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, guys, I am Sizwe Ndlovu, the currently serving as the CTO here at Pineapple, uh, an insurtech around about launched 2018 and still pushing it now. Recently just had a Series B. So yeah, now the real push is gonna start. But yeah, man, very passionate about people, building teams and technology. And yeah, man, very excited for the conversation that we're going to have today, Karen.
Awesome. Cool. Let's jump in then. So the landscape have changed quite a bit in the last few years. So how's it like for you right now, hiring in South Africa?
Yeah, look, I think the landscape has indeed changed quite a lot. I think if you look in the past few years, obviously one of the biggest factors was, COVID. So obviously that kind of changed the way that we kind of looked at working. And, you know, so prior to COVID, remote work was like never a thing, never entertained by any company. And then COVID forced us to do that. And now post COVID, it's now become like pretty much a requirement by a lot of developers. Remote work has to kind of be a component because I think what COVID did, I mean, I mean, as bad as it was for society and I guess the world in general, it did also show that remote work was possible. So you'll find things like that, where people are looking for these additional perks such as remote work. Um, you also have like, a later generation, I guess, kind of graduating and kind of starting jobs now, and they're very different from, like our generation, for example, where just things are very different. You'll find the general, what do you call it? The general, uh, you'll find the general wants and needs, I guess, about from this new generation, I guess the new people coming to the workforce now, can be a lot different. Especially, when you start getting kind of higher and higher, it becomes kind of a question of, um, are people interested in career growth, or do they just want to cash out right now? Biggest deal, head over that way. And that kind of it seems to be dominating the industry right now. So that kind of influences by and large, hiring strategies, etc., which obviously we're going to talk about a lot more today.
Yeah, great. So all of those things, remote work and what people are looking for now in a job, how's that changed your offers, the offers that you present to candidates?
Yeah, look, we definitely have done our best to evolve with the times. I think that's very important from any employer's point of view. You want to make sure that you're still relevant, so that you're competitive with the rest of the market. Yeah, look, at Pineapple, we've definitely done our best to hear, kind of hear the calls of a lot of developers coming in, and also try and mix that with the business objectives, because I think a lot of companies are kind of cool and they thrive off your remote culture, etc. Whereas with us, we definitely do. We're like a family, kind of at Pineapple. We want to establish that very family type of environment and make sure that people kind of grow in that kind of culture. So we've had to find creative ways of kind of working around that. So in our offers, we definitely do try and cater for that, and obviously try and mix that with the requirements of the business, or at least in terms of what we intend to build. From a company point of view, we really strive to kind of get that balance going on. But I think one thing that we've also kind of done quite well is standardize the kind of offers that we give out, and just to kind of give a fair playing point of view for everyone who starts, to kind of baseline that, and then give everyone equal fair opportunity to knock the lights out, and you get rewarded for that. And I guess that's where it really becomes like, where it becomes a choice of what are you looking for, the developer. Is it your career, or is it just to cash out, like, right now and move into the next big deal, which we've kind of seen typically is the culture that is starting to happen in South Africa. I know it's very popular in your places like Silicon Valleys, etc. But now it's kind of starting to creep in South Africa. But yeah, we are also trying to influence the market in that kind of sense. Being a new company and wanting to do things in a new, innovative way. So yeah.
Nice. So Can you maybe give some practical examples of what you would put in your offer to make it more attractive to candidates?
Okay, yeah, no. So, I mean, first and foremost, I think what everyone's the first thing, I mean, you'll look for an offer is obviously like what the complete amount is, and you want to make sure that that is competitive to industry. So, depending on the stage of your company, sometimes if you're not as well funded, it's very hard to kind of be industry competitive. But I think Pineapple, we're now at the point where we can actually start doing that. Pardon. And what we strive to actually make sure that a lot of our well, all of our offers are competitive. We do benchmarking from independent parties, complete thorough industry benchmarks that we kind of provide over there, and we do our best to match uh, that with what we believe is fair for your level of experience and your qualifications, etc., to ensure that you are fairly compensated for the work that we expect from you. But then in addition to that, we also, sell on the values of the company and kind of what we're trying to bring. Because obviously when you apply for a company, you as a candidate as well, want to ensure that you get into a company where you believe the company's values align with those of yourself. You feel that if you're going to get into this company, there is some sort of trajectory for you that's going to ensure that you meet your goals and objectives for yourself as a human being, as a career practitioner, to make sure that, okay, if I'm in this company, I can see how it's going to lead me to get to my final goal. And that's kind of what we thrive on. If you come to Pineapple, what we like doing what we like communicating within our dev team is that the only way you're really going to thrive in your role at Pineapple is if you have a vision for yourself. You need to see yourself somewhere in a couple of years, and we just try and align your job to get there. It's super important. And we're very strict on that. We won't hire anyone who doesn't have that for themselves. I mean, that's also how we achieve a high performance culture.
So, one thing you mentioned, your audio just dropped.
I should be back.
Yes.
It's connected to another device. I apologize. What I was saying is, yeah. So what we do, yeah, at Pineapple, we're very unapologetic about that. We really sell it to you that you need to have a vision for yourself. You need to see yourself in a certain place. We need to thrust you and propel you there. And this is essential to the offers that we make. Like, we sell long term. See yourself grow here, become 1% better every day in what you do, so that one day you can become like 200% better for staying here for a long term. And we also give those opportunities of growth. We tell you, from the interview stage, if you're looking to do this, okay, maybe you want to strengthen your front end, we'll align all those projects, etc., for you to kind of do that, so that you can actually climb the as what we call actually the level system. We have a level system. You move yourself up those systems, you get increased responsibility, you get increased salary, you get an increased pay, an increased title, until you actually get to the place where you feel like, okay, I've reached my pinnacle, which shouldn't happen anytime soon. But yeah, that's what we definitely look to do in a lot of the offers that we give out. We really sell long-term growth, personal development. That's how we work over here.
That's awesome. I think that's really so important for developers to see their growth path in the company. So, other than growth opportunities, what else do you think is really important for developers to see in their offers?
Yeah, I think so. Growth opportunities, definitely. I think yeah, I'm just gonna touch on it a little bit again, but I know for a lot of developers, they definitely, that sense of achievement is something that's so quintessential. You just want to be you want to be the best there is out there. So that we definitely see as one very important thing to offer. Like,
yeah,
I think it comes with my thumbs up, to offer a developer, to offer developers that growth opportunity. in addition to that, you also want to offer them kind of conditions that meet their lifestyle, you know. So people have certain commitments in some other places, you know. Maybe you might find some people have families, or they're looking after, you know, little ones, etc. So they need to do, you know, trips to school and pick up, etc. So they need some sort of flexibility, of which we're happy to come to that arrangement, you know, just so long as we as the company are getting what we are paying you for, you know, and that's a fair deal. Because that's, yeah, you know, it's a company philosophy that we operate on. You know, we always want to be the fairest of them all in anything that we do, and it goes all the way down to our culture, and we really rely on that, and we want to work with people who also have that value, central to how they, you know, live their life and do things. So we also try and look, how can we um, decorate or kind of maneuver the job function itself to, you know, suit your lifestyle, so that you are feeling the best, in the best shape, and feeling the because stress is a real thing, you know, want to kind of reduce the stress, etc. But then you obviously are optimal for the output of the requirements of the job. So yeah.
Okay, that's great. Jacqueline actually asked a really good question. She asked, is it really true that developers are looking for growth opportunities? She says most devs who are not already team leads don't want to grow into managing or lead roles. So how do you manage that? Do you see a difference between juniors and seniors? And what growth paths do you offer?
No, thanks for mentioning that, Karen, the junior and senior track. I think it definitely differs between the two, just to answer, because it's a very good question, Jacqueline, that you propose over there. What we've typically found is that it's your juniors who are out there to prove themselves and really just want to kind of knock the lights out and learn learn the technical stuff to that level, of which for them, I think career growth and self-development is much stronger, you know, as opposed to a more senior person, you know, who you know, they kind of it, and they're like, man, I know that I'm good, you know, I can go to this company, I go to that company, and just look for the highest price, you know. The one thing with what Jacqueline has asked over here, I think one thing we've also noticed with developers, I think it's quite rare to find developers who actually want to go the team lead route, just by virtue of the fact that it involves managing people. And I think developers inherently do not like people. So it's a very tricky thing to kind of get. And when you get that rare unicorn who's like up for managing people, you hold on to them and you run with it. I know even within our company, you know, we're also, you know, because we're very big fans of kind of upskilling people from internal, you know, from within inside. Um, but I think what Jacqueline's saying is definitely also occurring on our side. You'll find people are reluctant to kind of manage, you know, other developers or other people, because, well, people suck according to developers, and rather they will kind of take a tech lead kind of route, where you kind of become a master of technology and you go that whole route of becoming a distinguished engineer one day. But as long as you're not managing people, which I think is a skill which is so important, and it's very unfortunate that a lot of developers do not want to go down that route. But yeah, I definitely understand where Jacqueline's question's coming from, and yeah, I think we definitely do see it across, you know, and it's actually quite interesting. I wonder, it's not, I mean, the team lead position is, it's or at least team leads, it's very hard, you know, these days to kind of find those people. So we always want to foster that like develop the person, because it's very hard to just find one off the bat.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's really really difficult. So, but do you offer other paths for developer, not just management path?
No, absolutely. And that we actually learned through just hearing feedback from our people, because obviously as a company, we're looking for one thing. So for us, we just have a team lead track where, you know, you'll develop your technical skills to the point where they're good enough. So from here, it's like, okay, you can further develop your technical skills, but as a company, we don't really need that. We need people who are gonna, you know, manage the people. But then that's kind of where, you know, the development kind of stops. But it's also because the developers themselves are not interested in going that route, for the reason that I mentioned, that they're really not fond of people. So then it's, you know, that has, it actually forced us to kind of create separate branches of development, you know. So we do have a management track. We do have a specifically technological track. You go down the technology route, and even within the technology route, it branches out in itself. So you can specialize in DevOps, you can specialize in like front end, back end, you can specialize in you know, like um, machine learning, you know, AI type of endeavors. So and that's something that we recently did, you know, just by getting that feedback. So I also do understand the importance of doing this, you know, just to kind of keep people motivated in the work that they're doing, and to keep them excited about you know, the things that they're doing. But I think it's so important that as a company, you listen to your developers, you know, when they kind of raise things, because, and you also give them the opportunity to raise such things, because you'll find in some cases when companies don't do that, that's when, you know, the you know, your employee is now busy searching for job offers behind your back, and then next thing there's a resignation letter because they felt they stopped growing in your company, and you know, a valuable resource that is. So yeah.
Yes. Something that I was thinking now while you were talking about, you know, growing in that senior technical path, how do you, if you need to employ somebody senior like a staff engineer, how do you go about attracting that person and exciting them about your company?
Yeah, look, the attracting seniors can be a very difficult thing, because it doesn't just come down to like talent, but you know, if they have the wrong culture, they can really like ruin the entire team. Um, Despite maybe them being like the complete whiz, you know. And I think from our point of view, like from Pineapple, especially like, and I think we'll kind of get into like the whole process of how we find the people. But at least when we conduct the the assessments, it's always like technical. Just get the technical stuff out of the way to ensure that you're competent enough to actually do the job. But thereafter, I think it's very important to find out what the person's deepest desires are. So you have to hit them at like a human level to be like, okay, what is it really that you're looking for? Like, you know, in terms of your long term, yes, you're a senior, um, but what are the type of stuff that you'd like to do? You need to kind of get them excited and give them the opportunity to be able to then, you know, kind of fulfill that excitement in the job role, but then also give, kind of try and preempt what's going to happen next. You know, it shouldn't be a thing of once they've ticked that box, now they're done. So now, okay, my job at Offers In is done. Let me move to Pineapple. Some, you know what I'm saying? It
Yes.
has to kind of continue. Um, and it can get very difficult with with your staff engineers, your more senior people, to that extent. But I think when it comes there, I think that's when you kind of you do the person to person conversations, and you really dig deep to find out the person's deepest desires for themselves, and just what are they looking to achieve, and offer them the room to do those type of things, you know, but align those obviously with your company's requirements and objectives. And I think over there you'll have like a good working solution. I think just in addition to that, sorry, you want to make sure the culture fit is very important. Like, I think that's the danger with a lot of senior people. I think, and we've seen this, you know, in interviews, etc. There can be a lot of arrogance that comes to just by virtue of the fact that, you know, look, I'm good. I feel like I've even had that myself in prior job interviews. You know what I mean? Um, so it can get very tricky, but I think what's very important is that you get the right culture fit. You shouldn't be just in a rush to hire and get someone in just for the sake of filling in a void, because that one wrong person can ruin the whole team just from a culture perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very true. So when you're talking to a person and trying to find out what they want, where do you fit that in the hiring process?
So like I mentioned, like we always start with tech. We need to assess competence, like make sure this person is able to do what they say they can do and what we require them to do. Assess the competence, assess it thoroughly, you know, probably the most intensive. And I think to like once we've ticked that box, then we can start having the more soft skills, and you know, kind of finding out over there, okay, what is it you're looking for? How can we kind of work it into your job function? Like that would be the key place in the stages of doing everything. I think competency over everything, you know. That's just from just lessons that we've learned from our side. You know, we have done it the other way around, didn't find it as effective, but it's always like just ensure competency before anything.
Okay, great. And then you would chat to them, have a chat about what they're looking for. Where do
Yes,
they see themselves growing? Okay.
yes. No, that's very important. I think people need to feel a sense of fulfillment in the jobs they do, and yeah, that's very important to us as well.
Awesome. So just to sort of now go to the end of this, you're making an offer, but you can't really offer the developer exactly what they wanted. How do you manage that?
Yeah, I think it's quite a common thing, and I think what's the danger with that is, from a company perspective, is, pardon, you could end up kind of creating like an unequal society, because it's normal to kind of play companies against each other with offer letters, etc. So you'll get this, and then maybe from Pineapple I get this offer letter, then I go to offers and I say, hey, Pineapple gave me this, what are you guys? And then you guys kind of push it up, and then you come back to Pineapple and you're like, hey, Pineapple, listen, offers encountered me with this, what are you gonna do? And then it's kind of almost like threatening us to unbalance the scales and kind of make things. But you see, from our point of view as Pineapple, I don't think we'd want that person, because they're showing us that they just shopping around. Whereas for us, we're looking for career growth. We're looking for like long term, and we can give you an offer, and we can also tell you how we can benefit your career. Like, this is a long term thing, and if you're able to apply yourself here, you will get way more than this offer we're giving you now, and way more than the offer that offers it is counter offering you. You know, that's why selling someone on career is so important. We're very, also as a company, like, we want to ensure we get a certain type of person in, because this is the culture we're trying to build, you know. And I'm sure it's the same thing and offers in as well. You want to ensure that there's a consistent culture of people that are coming in. So when it comes to managing those kind of pushbacks, etc., we just sell culture. We sell culture. We sell also like the growth that you can experience. And we want to see at that point in time, are you that type of person who's attracted to this type of thing? Because if you are, then Pineapple's the company for you, and we'll make sure that upon your thriving, you're compensated for it. But if you start trying to play us, then we probably don't want to work with you. Then you won't succeed at Pineapple. It won't last long.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, I like that approach. So you're selling their growth to them, basically.
Absolutely.
And that's much more than anything else you can add in your offer.
I think people just can be very short term about it, but when you see like the impact of this, like, I mean, these guys who joined our team, like there's like mid-level developers who are now like tech leads. I mean, to have that on your CV, it's
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so maybe to get to maybe a next theme here is to structure the process for making offers. So how do you guys go about structuring your offer?
So in terms of the actual amount, so as mentioned earlier, we definitely do best to be industry competitive. We benchmark everything like with industry. We have independent auditors from these accounting companies who give us like all this information just from them, the historical auditing, etc. And we level people according to that. We exercise a very fair process. We really believe people should be compensated fairly for what the work that is expected of them, and also their current skills and their qualifications. We really ensure that we do this just to make sure that you are fairly compensated, and also we are industrially what do you call it, competitive. So what you'll find at Pineapple is more or less, if not more than what you'd find at another company. So because I mean, saying cash is king, right? That's
Mm,
people like that's the baseline of what will have you kind of join. And once we've ticked that box, right, we sell culture, we sell like growth, we sell the long-term vision, we sell the company, we sell the people here, we sell the mood, we sell the fact that we're a growing company and you can join us at this time and have your footprint on things that we release into our production system, and have that onto your name. We
mm,
sell a lot of that, and we're looking for people who are attracted by those, because that speaks to like personal growth. It speaks to holding yourself accountable with work that you have to do, being able to just shift yourself into that gear, and really push yourself to the limits that you believe you can reach, and we will compensate you accordingly. So that's the kind of culture that we look for, and that's how we decorate the offer. We'll
mm.
add all those things. So
So,
yeah.
if one of the big things has changed in the last few years, remote work, but that also had the implication that we are now competing with international companies for developers in South Africa. So, how do you still make your offer competitive?
Yeah, look, that, and you're so right, and it's such a scary thing, because I think like when it comes to international companies, it's so hard to like compete from a salary level. It's very difficult, and yeah, like some of these companies can really make the most ridiculous type of offers, etc. And um yeah, like, I mean, from a practical point of view, like, even for yourself, Corin, you just, if you are going purely at a salary point of view, you cannot compete with a Facebook. I mean, as offers in, for example, you cannot compete. I just read like on Bloomberg, OpenAI, they pay some of their top developers $800,000 a year. That's like, it's a lot of money,
Yes.
and there's not a chance that you could ever compete with that, even though
Mm,
maybe your skill set is of that level. But as a South African company, who is going to compete with you on that level?
mm,
So you need to sell them on something else. You know what I'm saying? It
mm,
can't just be the salary alone. And for people who are looking for that, there are jobs that do facilitate that. I know if you look on Stack Overflow, there's a lot of these remote jobs where they can just compensate for that, because they're the type of companies who want to build that kind of culture. But then, as a company, you really need to build an environment which is attractive. We're fortunate. I mean, our marketing department is doing is doing such great work by creating a brand like the Pineapple brand. It's such an exciting brand, such a young, fresh brand. You know, if you look at our social content, you really get a good idea of how the office is. Me being here, like, I'm really explaining very well how our dev team and how the environment is over here. These are the things that we have to sell if we cannot match on a salary point of view.
mm,
And those are the kind of people that we want to work with. They do exist out there. And maybe, in some cases, you've got these very experienced people who are just like through the roof expensive, and maybe we cannot attract all that really good talent, because yes, there are people in those really experienced pools that we want to work with, or we just can't afford them. But then here at Pineapple, we'd like to bring someone in and then just upskill them. We believe, and we've done it many times, and we believe, and we continue to do this, that we upskill someone, have them work on really exciting things that really give them a sense of fulfillment and purpose in what they do, to the point where they become really good, you know,
mm.
and, compensate them accordingly. But just sell the fact that you can really grow and have and feel like a sense of attachment, to your work, like words of the badge of pride, which maybe you won't get if you're, just kind of ticking boxes and getting a
Yeah.
big salary.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's one of the big things. Sorry for
No,
interrupting
no,
you.
no, no.
I think that's
Okay.
one of the big things is that at one of these big companies, you're just another cog in the machine. And
Yeah,
with,
exactly.
like you said, marketing your company to be really nice, young, upcoming companies is so important.
No, exactly.
So when you're making your offer, there's obviously still a lot of competition for great developers. How do you make sure you can get your offer out quickly? Does it make a difference? And what do you guys do to do that?
Yeah, that one. So this one, like, I don't have the answer to it, because it is a very tricky one, because it's a game. It really is a game. And I know you know this firsthand. It's like, before you want to make that commitment with the person, you want to ensure that, okay, now we really want this person to join our team. And it can get very tricky. We've had times where it's like, um, we'll send out an offer, like we want this person, and the person starts dancing around with us, and then we're like, oh, but do we really want this? Like, why are they acting so funny? Because at the beginning we were all like about it. And then there'll be other times where we feel like we move too slow. So,
Mm.
and we only move slow because the assessments took long. So maybe it's like a stalling tactic on the developer side. So for
Mm.
example, we'll send out our assessments, we'll do all our technical assessments just to make sure this is the right candidate. And they'll pass them with flying colors. And then we'll do one more interview, which is like checking, a personality, are you the person, are you right culture fit, etc.,
Mm.
etc. And they knock the lights out of that one, and that's when we determine we really want the person. But you'll find that by the time we did that, they got an offer letter like 2 days ago from another company, and then they like, no, we regret to inform, we're not going to join Pineapple, we're going to join the other company.
Mm.
But then on our part, we kind of like, man, if we just moved quicker with this, if we
Mm.
did this interview like a day or two earlier, we would have got the person over the line. It's a very tricky thing. I think, like I said, I don't have the answer to this. We don't have like the complete perfect answer to this. But what helps is just moving quickly with your process.
Mm.
If you can get your process kind of get through it as quickly as possible, um, scale it as quickly as possible, do as many interviews as possible, but in a very quick way.
Mm.
I think that helps big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually have exactly the same issue at Offers In, is that technical assessment where we see a lot of drop off at that stage because it takes so long, right? So
Yes.
what we did is we started introducing a technical interview, so the candidate doesn't have to prepare for it. We do send them some information ahead of time, but then it just takes that hour of their time, and they don't have to prepare for an assessment or do a lengthy assessment where they take it home and it takes 4 days. So yeah, it's helped us a lot, but then on the other hand, like you say, that doesn't scale very well because that takes a lot of time from your team.
Indeed. So yeah. It's a game you play, man. Like it's a game you play.
So sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
No,
There was something
not
I
a
wanted to
problem.
ask you, but I can't remember now. Is there any tools that you guys use that make this process easier for you?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think if you're gonna scale so many interviews, I don't know if I mentioned this here, but basically for every one hire we make, we interview about like 20 people. Like we interview a lot of people for one hire, and we really go through a stringent process just to get one person over the line. Um, so I'm obviously to conduct 20 interviews by like if you're gonna book a whole week I mean that's just not feasible. So we definitely automate a lot of the things. So like you mentioned, as you guys do on your end, we also do assessments. We send out assessments um, for candidates to complete. We do give them a time limit, and we send a lot of them out to a lot of candidates, through Offers In, and the ones who do make it and complete all of them, will then kind of continue with them. So you first do two assessments. The one is more like on your problem solving, critical thinking, and then the second one is specifically like tech, related to our tech stack, like a JavaScript um, test. And once you've done good enough in those two, you then get a 45-minute technical assessment with me because I want to see myself, the candidate, see how they solve, how they think about problems, etc. It's like a two-question thing. It's one is like it's a problem-solving thing, and then the second one is system design, and we just do like a whole assessment around those two. And by then, that's when I've determined your technical kind of aptitude. I can determine which level that you're on, in terms of your seniority. And then after that, it's a final interview. Just we kind of speak about, what are you looking for, etc., etc. And then thereafter, we make our decision. So yeah, we use the online assessment tools. Like we're big fans of Test Gorilla. We use Test Gorilla quite a lot just to get those assessments over the line. lead code as well. I think it's some really challenging technical assessments that we can kind of pick over there and just find out from, kind of send to a candidate just to see how they approach it. It's not necessarily about solving them, but it's just about like how you approached it. Did you actually take the time to think about it? What did you think about? What's the, those type of things. So we definitely look at that. But basically our interview process is just to gauge where in the ladder you sit, in terms of your seniority, and then from there we know how to approach it. So yeah.
Okay, Tibogo asks a good question. So how do you conduct technical assessments in the world now where we've got something like ChatGPT?
So that will come out in the one-on-one, so obviously these online assessments, like, you could definitely use a ChatGPT to get through like a test gorilla. I see some people laughing there. You could use a ChatGPT to get through like your test gorillas, etc. But for me, that one-on-one is very important. There, I want to see exactly how you kind of approach things. And if you get through me over there, well then yeah, you're lucky. But I think there's some very good due diligence that we do there. I think the whole idea is for us to kind of work together, to collaborate, to see, like, because that's how to be in a practical setting. We were working together, so let's see how we solve this. So yeah.
Jacqueline wants to know if you send your assessment before interviewing the person.
Yes, we do. We can't set up 20 interviews just for one position. So our assessments go out before the interview, and then you complete those. You kind of earn the interview. So like I said, we first test for aptitude first. We need to make sure that you've got the aptitude, you've got the cognitive ability to do the functions, prove that, and then yeah, we'll go to the interview.
Okay, and then after you've made an offer, sorry, we're jumping back to offers. So after you made your offer, obviously there's going to be some counter offers, and you've mentioned this a little bit before, where it's that game you play where you see when people start, playing offers against each other. Yes. So how do you manage that? Ask, I think you already answered that. Let me rather ask, how do you make sure that you don't get a counter offer?
I mean, not that they're inevitable, but it's always, I mean, I understand when a counter offer comes, like it makes sense. You're trying, and I don't blame anyone for that. Like, I mean, you can't really hold it against the person that, listen, this company offered me this. No, pardon. So it's like, this company offered me this. So what do I do with your offer? Because it's less, then as a developer, like, how badly do you want me? And it's perfectly fair. But then for me, I guess that's the line is drawn in the sand when I kind of sell you on the prospects and sell you your own, like I tell you that you're able to kind of jump leaps and bounds over what this offer is offering you right now, and your counter offer. Should you put in the work yourself, you'll be recognized. We have a whole level system to explain exactly how you move up from one level to the next. If I've laid that down, and I've laid kind of the culture, and I've laid down your prospects of getting to where you want to get to, and still despite that it's not enough, then for me that's where I draw the line. Like, I think as a company as well, you need to kind of have a stance on these things, because if you get the wrong people, like I say, if you get the wrong people in your culture, the wrong people with the wrong culture into your company, it can really ruin things. So for us, we're very steadfast on that. Just that's where we'll draw the line. I guess that's where we take a firm stance as a company, and we want to get people in who are motivated to push themselves, and kind of don't see the short term and see the long term opportunity, because we'll definitely help you get there.
Awesome. I think that's a great note to end on.
Yeah.
We've got some questions in the chat.
Yeah.
So it's actually quite a few interesting questions. That's maybe not as related, but I think it could still be interesting. Simo asked, what's the average tenure for developers at Pineapple? And maybe we should just stop there. So what are the average tenure for developers?
In terms, so when you say 10, you mean like how long they stay?
Yeah,
Like,
how long do they stay on?
look, we're a young company as well. We started like 2018, and it's 2023 now. So technically speaking, it's been like, well, including 18, 19, like 6 years in operation. Developers will stay between like 2 to 3 years, more or less. You know, but we're seeing people kind of stay longer now. Because obviously in the early days, we never had a lot of these systems in place. We were a much smaller team. We never had a lot of room for growth in that sense. But now I think we've been able to do a lot of that. We've learned a lot of lessons in the past that we've kind of rectified now. So yeah, I think on average we're between like 2 to 3 years, more or less. A developer will hang around, and then when they feel like they're not growing anymore and they feel like they don't have any opportunities to grow, I think that's kind of normal in any company. You'll just get that churn, then they'll move to the next tech company. So
yeah, I think that's pretty standard.
yeah,
2 to 3
exactly.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Terence wants to know, in your hiring process, how are certifications and hands-on experience evaluated and weighted?
Oh, okay. So in terms of evaluated, I think your certificates. I mean, to evaluate certificates, it's more like just to prove the certificate is valid. So we have an HR department that does that. You can check that. But that's not necessarily the focus. Like I'm feeling like maybe they're trying to ask whether we will hire people who don't have certificates but have the practical experience. Of course, we do that. I mean, it's the work that you can do, But we always encourage people like go out, upskill yourself, study, etc., etc. But we understand that some people just didn't have that opportunity, and we've hired many people, very good people who've come who don't necessarily have the certifications, etc., but they have the skills and they're dedicated to working on themselves. Like we definitely that we're not. What's that law firm in Suits where they just hire from Harvard? Yeah, we're definitely not them. Yeah, for us it's really about what you can do, and I think in technology in general, like for these um newer, more innovative companies, it's really about what you can do more than anything. Like you can easily get someone with a master's or PhD who's never built an app before. What good are they to you? It's like, yeah.
Great. So Tebogo wants to know what's your position on remote work, and I think you are a remote company, right?
Yeah, look, I did touch on it at the beginning. So, as Pineapple, we do prefer people to be in office, but we do adapt to the work from home culture that's kind of been made. So, as we have it right now, with our developer team, they do 3 days at the office and then 2 days work from home. Um, and yeah, it could change in future, but currently that's kind of how the setup is, just to kind of offer that type of flexibility. But then also, the more senior you become, then the more flexible you kind of the more flexibility you're entitled to from those work from home days. So it's also something that you work towards. And
Okay.
I want to double down on that. At Pineapple, we reward you for what you work. Like, you earn things, you work towards them. And I think a lot of people just don't want to work for things. It's like it just has to be there. But we're just like, we'll give it to you, but work for it. So it's just things you earn.
Okay, great. I think we've come to the end. The last question that I want to ask you is: are there any last takeaways on trends that tech leaders should be keeping an eye on when it comes to making a great offer?
Yeah, look, I think one thing that we'd like to think we do different, which I definitely like to advise a lot, well, to other tech leaders, and just also myself, for having been an employee once upon a time, which I felt I didn't get as well. Um, yeah, I think we really need to think more about like the developers and where they're coming from and their lifestyles and how we can adapt to those, and kind of do more efforts in terms of offering them what they're looking for, to gel it with the requirements of the company. Because I think a lot of the times we're never really thinking too much from the developer's point of view in terms of what they're looking for to give them full job satisfaction, because it's simple science. Like, if they're happy, you'll get the output. just ensure that they're happy, and you will then reap those benefits. And it doesn't necessarily have to just be from a salary front, but offer them like an environment where they can thrive, where they can really get the best out of themselves. And that involves just talking to them, understanding from their point of view. So I think if there's more of that, I think we'll have a lot more exciting companies in the country.
Awesome. That's excellent. That's such great advice. Thank you very much, Sizwe. I really enjoyed talking to you tonight. It was awesome. Thanks everybody else that joined us tonight. I think that concludes it. Before we go, I think, yes, we've got another final event in 2 weeks' time. We will be talking about team performance. I think that's going to be really interesting. And yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks for having me, Corin. Yeah, thanks everyone. Have a good evening.
Enjoy your evening.
Cool.